when you're on that agnostic donkey road, the lazy river of self-gratification, you don't see what's happening around you. And if you just take a few days and stop watching pornography, stop taking opioids, stop having sex with strangers you meet at bars, you will wake up to a world that is frightening, but you're free in it. Now that they're out of a job, there's nowhere for them to go. They have no skills. They can't lift a can of soda, let alone a load in a truck. They can't do anything. And so now the very same condescension, you reap what you sow. And the very same condescension that was given to them is now, or that they gave to hardworking Americans, is now being given back to them. It's learn to code. And they can't code. They can't do anything. They will just be on the street begging for soy money because they hit this soy apocalypse. What's up, dudes?
May find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Modern world. Who? Europeans. Built the modern world.
European?
We invented science and industry. We invented science and industry, and you want to tell us to stop because, oh my God, we're so bad. We built the modern world. We built the modern world. Europeans. Built the modern world. We invented science and industry. We invented science and industry, and you want to tell us to stop because, oh my God, we're so bad. We invented the modern world.
I feel you. You're so dumb.
We invented the modern world. You fucking degenerate. We saved billions of people from starvation. We built modern civilization. White people are the best thing that ever happened to the world. We are so amazing, and I love myself, and I love white people.
Say that one more time.
Fuck yeah, white people.
Say it right here.
Fuck yeah, white men. We're white men. We did everything. Look, I don't hate other people. I just love my white men. I just love...
What's up, everybody? One thing I'm trying to work on in my life is not just keep identifying snakes without talking about anything good. I get that way sometimes on streams. I know a lot of us get that way because there's so many snakes in the garden. There's so many threats to our way of life that sometimes we can get wrapped up in just talking about, the spirit cooking nature of DC and the child sacrifice, child sex of Hollywood and all this stuff that's eroding our culture. But it's dawned on me recently that one of the reasons that more people don't stand up and do stuff is because they don't have anything to fight for. If you don't have something to live for, you don't have something to die for. And if you are being eroded and you are in that state of mind that nothing matters and your life isn't worth living, and, there's nothing in your life that's so good that you're willing to face the wrath of social consequence by saying the truth in a time of chaos, then, there's not going to be enough of us to really do anything. So I think it's important to balance out talking about Bill Maher, Kid Love Productions, New York, making child sacrifice legal, all these things. And it's also crazy to me, just real quick about that, and then we'll talk about some stuff worth living for, is people don't understand the story of Roe from Roe v. Wade. You know, that this is a media blackout. So Roe from Roe v. Wade claimed that she was raped. And that was the entire basis for the legalization of abortion in America. Turns out she wasn't raped. And the guilt that what she did, you know, the guilt of what she did weighed on her so heavily that she became a born-again Christian, found Christ, sought forgiveness, and lived her life regretting that decision she made in her life. You know, she was just like what the left always does. They found a vulnerable person or a vulnerable population, and they exploited it for evil. And so when people talk about Roe v. Wade, no one ever talks about interviewing Roe. Unfortunately, she's passed away, but she lived the remaining parts of her life, you know, seeking redemption and forgiveness, which is a beautiful thing. And I understand why she would do that, given what the Pandora's box that she opened with that lie heard around the world. And so we see these horrors in life. And one of the reasons that I'm so intense about fighting it and why I can withstand the social scrutiny and the fear and all this stuff is because of my family. You know, I have a wonderful family that I love, and I'm so grateful to have. And I was thinking about, because I still sometimes get sad. Sometimes I feel hopeless in moments. And so I wanted to talk this segment about things we can all do, practices, rituals, if you will. That might be the wrong word, but things that we can do proactively in our life to not go down these holes of nihilism. And bear in mind that socialism requires vice. It requires a society full of vice. That is, you know, Joe Rogan's role is to introduce extreme vice into young males. You know, that he's seen as this alpha male, and that he encourages young men to do drugs and have promiscuous sex and pretend to be a ninja and, you know, DMT and all this stuff. And the reason that that's important for a socialist takeover is because if you have a population that has been just drained by pornography and drugs and sex and all this stuff, they don't fight back. I used to think that people were very prudish and self-righteous when they would say, you know, porn was bad or drugs were bad or promiscuity was bad. I lived a good chunk of my life thinking those people were wrong and that I could do what I wanted, and they were trying to hold back my ability to be free and to experience pleasure. And I then realized what the big picture is, that when you're on that agnostic donkey road, the lazy river of self-gratification, you don't see what's happening around you. And if you just take a few days and stop watching pornography, you know, stop taking opioids, stop having sex with strangers you meet at bars, you will wake up to a world that is frightening, but you're free in it. And one thing that I've noticed about my life is at first I was thinking, you know, when you see the FBI turning on people, when you see our own institutions, our education system is not there to educate, and you feel this sense of like impending doom, but you have something to live for, I started building a fence. You know, if we can't get a wall done with all the money they take from us, what I could do is I could build a wall on my own. And psychologically, it helped me. And I learned how to do something that I wasn't capable of doing before. I've never been good at handiwork. And as I did it, I felt happier. I felt more at peace because I was pushing against the darkness, not just waiting for it. And as I read about certain chemicals in our food and certain things that were happening, I said, well, we should grow our own food. We should have chickens, you know, and we should know where our food comes from. And then as that's happening, I find myself feeling more optimistic. And then it dawned on me that these sick animals, these Satanists, the evil in this world, what it really does is if you face it head on, not only does it not break you, it sets you free. And you realize the shackles of this world of social conformity and self-gratification and selfishness. If you just have to take care of ducks, if you just have to take care of chickens and keep the predators out at night and all that, what it does is it keeps you looking out. And when you're not self-obsessed, when you're looking for the benefit of others, for just a chicken, to keep a coyote away from a chicken, it's that simple. Start small. Start with a plant. Remember to water the plant. What that does is it sets you free. Because then if you're only paying attention to yourself, you know, you just think about like, are my abs good enough? You know, are people going to think my mustache is stupid? You know, stuff like that creates this self-imploding world that ends up becoming satanic. And it all starts with the basics of how you live. And so my advice to you guys is you may not be able to live on a place where you can have a farm or anything. We don't have a ton of land, but we have enough. I moved out of Los Angeles because my big awakening started when I realized I loved my children at the time, just my pregnant wife, more than myself. And I would sacrifice fame and money and accolades for their benefit. And that was the spark that started this whole thing in my life. And that woke me up to the trans kid thing and the abortion thing and wars and all this stuff. It all started by simply looking out. And that's why it's about action. And so when you just grow something, and right now I'm focused on raised bed gardening. You know, I go down these rabbit holes. I realize Bill Maher is most likely alleged, whatever I have to say to not be sued, pedophile. And I can just focus heavy on that. Or I can focus part of the time on that. Don't be an escapist. Don't pretend that these things aren't real. Don't not follow through on your duty as an adult male in a society to alert the other people of snakes, but focus on a new hobby, focus on growth. And the beauty about farming and the beauty about growing is it implies that there will be a future. And I've had darkness in my life and depression and stuff years ago. You know, my whole life, my whole family has elements of it. And the best thing out of it isn't drugs. It isn't any of that stuff. It is preparing for the future, preparing to grow something. It innately tells your subconscious that there will be a future. And before you know it, you're smiling and you're having a good time, because if we just focus on the conspiracies that are real and that are taking down our society, we're not being the best fathers we can be, the best husbands we can be, the best citizens we can be, you know. And as I'm saying this as someone who's fought it and someone who's seen it in themselves. I'm not saying this from a authoritarian position. That's not good for anyone. You know, our strength comes from the family unit. And so focus on that and focus on growing something. And then when you attack a snake, you have real power behind the blow to kill that snake. Much love, everybody. HugePianist.com, YouTube.com/Owen Benjamin Comedy. I will see you soon. I'll be back. And I'm going to be growing stuff. Hi, everybody. That was it was cool to be able to actually bring Alex some info that he didn't know. Usually he's the one who lets me know about stuff that I didn't know. So that was kind of fun. It's a shame it was something so gross, though. Bill Maher, Kid Love Productions, defending pedophilia, attacking children. It's real gross. And I love being a comedian, and I've always loved being a comedian, even though so many comedians have now taken a knee and don't do actual comedy anymore because of political correctness, and they just took the money from Netflix, which is a propaganda wing run by Susan Rice and a lot of just pretty nefarious characters. But here's the beauty of comedy that it makes it so valuable in a society is, one, you get to poke at the false idols, the taboos, the sacred cows, And that offers people relief and an ability to not let the world become upside down. And another thing, it can kind of predict the future. You know, like as we saw with, I'm just going to play you guys a song real quick. There's a song I made a little over a year ago, I think. It's called Soy Boy. I just want to analyze one of the lyrics of it. So check this out.
There is a man who's afraid of dairy, and he is proud that his chest never got hairy. On his driver's license, under gender, it says other. His best friend and role model growing up, and still is his lesbian mother. He can't give the D, 'cause he's got low T. Trump tweets gave him PTSD, his pronoun Z, and he sits to pee. He's a BuzzFeed foodie blogger, which means he is unemployed. He always acts bitchy and pissy, 'cause he is bloated from soy. He's a soy boy, and he's so annoyed. He feels no joy from all that soy. Weak, soft soy hands, a lot of demands. He's got
memory glands. All right, so that's Soy Boy. You guys can check that out if you want. It's on my YouTube page, youtube.com/Owen Benjamin Comedy. The point I was making is BuzzFeed just let off a bunch of their quote-unquote journalists, and I say quote-unquote journalists because they're not journalists. I really mean that in the actual way the quotes work. I'm not doing one of those condescending things. They aren't journalists. And so the line, he's a BuzzFeed foodie blogger, which means he's unemployed. So BuzzFeed, Huffington Post, a lot of these places just let off a bunch of these people, and all they do is lie for a living to get outrage clicks. And so the fact I was doing honest comedy is you can predict the future. And I've done other satire that has become real. In fact, right now, the speed in which satire becomes reality is getting faster and faster. Like, I don't even know what is a joke half the time. Like, I did a leftist fitness instructor, which is, a leftist fitness instructor where it's just everything is not your fault. And then I like a month later, I read in one of these BuzzFeed things that fitness is white privilege or Nazi or white nationally. I don't know. It's just going so fast that it's tough to satirize because satire is predictive. So anyway, this big meme that's going around that's brilliant is that these BuzzFeed quote unquote journalists, and I'm going to keep saying quote unquote journalists. I know it might be annoying, but I'm not going to call them journalists. They're not. Let's call them weasels. These BuzzFeed weasels, or we could call them sodomites. I don't know. We'll come up with another name besides journalists. It's more accurate. There's a meme going around that says, learn to code. And it's so brilliant. And these sodomites these BuzzFeed sodomites don't even get the joke. You know, they're just complaining about people saying, learn to code. In the 80s, 90s, 2000s, learn to code was told to all the coal miners and truck drivers and other jobs that had been outsourced or replaced or whatever was happening. The common phrase was learn to code. And these snarky soy boy sodomites were saying it with such glee and such soy-induced euphoria. And now it's being put right back at them because in reality, my grandfather was a lead miner, and one of my best friends is a truck driver. And the reality of those jobs is those men aren't as desperate as these soy boys want to believe they are. There's always going to be a need for mining. There's always going to be a need for truck driving. The truck drivers could shut down the American economy in 3 days if they just stopped driving. And you can't replace it by AI. That's nonsense. So now you have all these soy boys that are just chugging soy, just pro-sodomy, just constant sodomy, constant soy, and they have no testosterone. They're pumped full of estrogen, and they are condescending and rude and dumb. And not only are they dumb, they have no skills. So they go to school, they get in debt by being taught lies and disinformation. And so then they're set loose on the population where they lie and lie and lie and say that Alex Jones is a hate monger and I am, a Nazi dragon, I don't know, whatever they want to say. And so it worked for a little while because people didn't understand it yet, and they would click on it and believe it because our society not that long ago had a lot more trust in it. So you looked at the journalist, but these aren't journalists. These are pro-sodomy soyists. And so you would be like, oh, wow, this is shocking news, when in reality it was all lies. And so now that they're out of a job, there's nowhere for them to go. They have no skills. They can't lift a can of soda, let alone a load in a truck. They can't do anything. And so now the very same condescension, you reap what you sow. And the very same condescension that was given to them is now, or that they gave to hardworking Americans, is now being given back to them. It's learn to code. And they can't code. They can't do anything. They will just be on the street begging for soy money because they hit this soy apocalypse. And if comedians are allowed to do comedy, you would have seen this coming a long time ago. I saw it coming. There's a reason that I'm gardening and I am establishing tight relationships with my neighbors and I am reading the Bible. It's because it's not predicting the future. It's just inevitable what's coming, and it's inevitable once you realize what is right and what is wrong, the answers are very obvious. And the mainstream will not save you. And if you're waiting for CNN to wake up because of they realize their hypocrisy, or you're going to realize, or people are going to wake up to John Podesta or Hillary Clinton or any of these psychotic child eaters, you'll be waiting a long time. I suggest you grow some kale and read the Bible, because that's kind of the only handbook out of this thing. And, if you're addicted to soy, learn to code. And learn quick, because your soy addiction is going to make your wiener fall clean off your body if you don't get more soy.
All right, here we go. Thanks, bro, for being a voice in our crazy times. Anytime. It's an exciting time. We're going to win. Big Bear, can I make some highlight videos of your stuff and upload them and spread the word? The same way they do for Joe Rogan videos. Huge fan, love your vids, keep on fighting the good fight. Please do that. Do you know how many people we're not reaching because I go so long? Tons of people are like, Big Bear, I love your videos. Make them 15 minutes, not 3 hours. And I'm like, well, I try to. And then I start talking about, mind control. And then I start playing Pink Floyd. And then I start trying to make the fire brighter. And then before you know it, I'm 3 hours deep, and everyone's went to bed.
Modern world. Europeans. Built the modern world. We invented science and industry. We invented science and industry, and you want to tell us to stop because, oh my God, we're so bad. We built the modern world. We built the modern world. Europeans built the modern world. We invented science and industry. We invented science and industry, and you want to tell us to stop because, oh my God, we're so bad. We invented the modern world.
I feel you. You're so dumb.
We invented the modern world. You fucking degenerate. We saved billions of people from starvation.
Are you joking me?
We built modern civilization. White people are the best thing that ever happened to the world. We are so amazing. And I love myself. And I love white people.
Say that one more time.
Fuck yeah, white people.
Say it right here.
Fuck yeah, white men. We're white men. We did everything. Look, I don't hate other people. I just love my white men. God. I just love white men. Oh, God. Oh, God.
All right, here we go.
It's really hard to have the energy at the end of the day to still get to the gym or to go for a run or go to the park or heck, even take your dog for a walk. Believe me, I know. I spend hours in front of a screen and then hours in front of bright lights every day. But thanks to Super Male Vitality at InfoWarsStore.com, I still have that energy. There's no way I could have the energy at the end of a long day to fight back against the chemicals in the food and water, to fight back against the modern day lifestyle with the screen time and the extended hours, to still have the stamina and endurance, energy and drive to get to the gym, get to the park, and get exercise that you need for your health. So go to InfoWarsStore.com and get Super Male Vitality before it's gone. This is actually our last run of Super Male Vitality. So I want you to experience Super Male Vitality before it's too late.
Unleash the super male in you with Super Male Vitality from InfoWarsStore.com.